Now, there's a new article here published online just today by Scientific American, and it's with regard to NASA's new study of UFOs. It put a small amount of money toward a limited, a few month study of UFOs, $100,000, which really is not a lot of money for a study something like this, but I guess it's something. And but anyway, Scientific American, this is what we were just talking about. I was just talking again about how science, mainstream science, just doesn't, the tone of this, the way this is written, makes this whole subject sound, like preposterous in a sense. But anyway, I'm going to read some of the article here, and of course I will leave the link in the description so you can check it out for yourself. And it says, with new study, NASA seeks the science behind UFOs. Although modest in scope, a NASA research project reflects shifting attitudes toward the formerly taboo subject of UFOs by Adam Mann. On June 9th, with only a few hours' notice, NASA held a press conference to announce a study it was commissioning on unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs. It actually should be just UAP, not UAPs. UAP it stands for unidentified aerial phenomena, not unidentified aerial phenomenas. That's not a thing. So this article makes a mistake throughout saying UAPs. It's just UAP. Anybody who uses UAPs, that's wrong. It's supposed to be just UAP. Anyway, continuing. The acronym is a rebranding of what are more popularly known as unidentified flying objects, or UFOs, a topic usually associated with purported extraterrestrial visitations and government conspiracy theories. The question on the public's mind was why one of the United States' premier scientific agencies was getting involved in something often considered to be at the farthest fringes of respectability. Okay, there we go. I want to stop there. The farthest fringes of respectability. It's 2022. We're still calling UFOs the farthest fringes of respectability. Often considered, to be at the farthest fringes of respectability. See, again, right off the bat, it's stigmatized. This article is stigmatized. We're still stigmatizing it. The scientific community as a whole continues to stigmatize it by painting it like with those kind of words. Continuing here. Yet the pronouncement also fit in with the suddenly more open-minded zeitgeist regarding UAPs. UAP it should be, again. And in fact, for the rest of the article, I'll say UAP, even though it says UAP, even though it's written as UAPs. Last year saw the publication of a much-anticipated report on the Department of Defense's own investigations into the subject following the release of first-person accounts and video from U.S. fighter pilots claiming to show encounters with strange objects in the skies. High-profile coverage in mainstream media and open congressional hearings about UAP have kept the matter circulating in the public realm. A month after the Pentagon's report came out, theoretical astrophysicist Avi Loeb, former chair of Harvard University's astronomy department, announced a private initiative called the Galileo Project, which is aimed at searching for potential evidence of alien technology here on Earth. I just like to point out there's also the UAPX effort, which is some scientists looking into this issue. Okay, continuing. What NASA can bring to this discussion is as yet unclear. The agency has set aside a slim $100,000 for the 9-month study, less than the typical funding it provides for exploratory studies of unconventional technologies, such as space telescopes with kilometer-scale mirrors or interstellar probes propelled by giant laser beams. Helmed by the well-respected Princeton University astrophysicist David Spergel, the investigation intends to identify existing and future data sets scientists could use to advance their understanding of UAP. Even if it uncovers little of interest, the study's existence suggests that something the agency once avoided talking about at all costs is on the cusp of becoming an appropriate topic of inquiry. There's no question you have a lot more voices in scientific and academic circles who are willing to be public and say this is a legitimate enterprise, says Greg Edjagian, a historian at Pennsylvania State University who was writing a book about UFO sightings. NASA's unexpected UAP announcement is perhaps a bit less surprising in hindsight. The agency's current administrator, former astronaut and Senator Bill Nelson, told reporters last year that he was sure U.S. pilots who reported mysterious encounters saw something, and their radars locked onto it. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence and the Office of Naval Intelligence officials behind the Pentagon's UAP task force had previously spoken about involving multiple branches of government in their investigations, Edjagian says. NASA was one of the agencies mentioned, he adds. Yet exploring enigmatic incursions into American airspaces arguably makes more sense as a project for the military than one for a civil space agency. Okay, let me just stop there. Let me just think about it. Let's talk about how laughable that line is there. Yet exploring enigmatic incursions into American air. Okay, it's not just these things aren't just hovering over military bases and flying circles around jet fighters. They're showing up all over the place, folks. Okay, that's one thing. But the funny part about it is it just goes to show that the people are they just don't know. They don't realize that the government has been covering this up for decades. They've done no research on this. Obviously. You know, again, there's the two books I point out all the time is UFOs and the National Security State, Volumes 1 and Volume 2, right, by Richard M. Dolan. It gives you the whole history from 1942 all the way to 1991 of how this thing has been covered up. And here, you know, again, it's just... it's incredible that these people just fail to try to do some research on this to understand that there is a cover-up and that it makes sense that there's a cover-up. But anyway, continuing. After all, these unidentified objects, if they exist, might be terrestrial in origin, perhaps constituting evidence of advanced Russian or Chinese aerospace technology rather than anything from beyond Earth. Let's get real here. These things, again, have been seen since 1947. There's flying objects that are shaped like saucers, a lot of them, that could move at incredible speeds and stop on a dime. There's been thousands and thousands of witnesses over the years to these things. There's been pictures, there's been film, there's been all this stuff, but yet we're talking about, we're saying, here's what we're saying in Scientific America in 2022. We're saying they might be terrestrial in origin, perhaps constituting evidence of advanced Russian or Chinese aerospace technology. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. A totally ridiculous statement. Absolutely insane statement. A totally uneducated statement. And it's so hard to believe that we're still getting this out of mainstream science publications. Anyway, NASA's study is aimed at categorizing data from Earth-observing satellites and other monitoring instruments that may have picked up some sliver of information relevant to such phenomena to see if there's anything whatsoever the agency can say about their nature. NASA already collects extensive information about the atmosphere using a suite of orbiting probes such as Terra, Suomi National Polar Orbiting Partnership, and CloudSat, any of which may have picked up incidental data that could help identify UAP. We have the tools and team who can help us improve our understanding of the unknown, says Thomas Zurbuchen, Associate Administrator for Science at NASA, in an official statement. That's the very definition of what science is. That's what we do. In this, Zurbuchen sounds not unlike Loeb, the most high-profile researcher presently pursuing such inquiries. Loeb had, in fact, approached NASA about investigating UAP and sent Zurbuchen a proposal last summer to use telescopes and other instruments to hunt for transient celestial events that might be relevant to the existence of unknown aircraft. He expressed annoyance upon learning that the agency had set up its own independent commission in which he wasn't involved. Now, let's just stop here for a minute. I'll read a quote here from Loeb. To me, it's really a contradiction, Loeb says. If there is someone pursuing the research agenda that you're trying to study, why wouldn't you collaborate with that person? Okay, let's stop here for a second. I just want to make a statement here. Now, again, all of this stuff that NASA's doing it's really wouldn't be necessary. It really wouldn't be necessary if Majestic 12 would just provide all the information and data and everything they have with regard to this phenomenon that's been collected since 1947. I mean, this would be a done deal. Why are we doing this? Like, isn't this just a waste of time at this point? I mean, the government's still playing games with the public. Okay, yeah, it seems like they want to let us know that there's objects out there, but they're not coming clean. They're not coming clean. And here we have scientists running around. I mean, in a way, the NASA effort is a waste of time, just as the Galileo project is, because there is most certainly data that is put away somewhere that other scientists and other officials have access to, and they're not sharing that information with the scientific community, and they are thus keeping the everyone in the dark. But yet, meanwhile, we have these things going on, and yet these people are being called. Some of these people are being attacked by some debunkers. It's just a total. It's just so sad. I was going to say a word here. I don't want to use any curse words, but so I'll just refrain. You can read the rest of this article. You get the gist. You see where it's going. It's just so sad that this is where we're at. It's so sad that we're playing these games. I mean, if the Pentagon was to release, okay, the stuff that they did release, like the gimbal video, the FLIR video, that stuff, right? That's fine, but they have better stuff. They have better stuff that would. See, the problem is they released that better stuff, then it would become, people would realize, oh. It's undeniable. And that's so they keep that. They can't. They won't do that. They won't do that. This way, there's some, with the stuff that they did release, there's some, you could, it's not clear enough, it's just not good enough, to say one way or the other for sure. But if they were to release all the stuff they had, the stuff from decades ago, right? Which I'm sure is stored someplace and is there if someone in the Pentagon finally decided, okay, we need to show the public this, we need to show our scientists this, the mainstream press this, it's there. Instead of playing these games, like this is just, it's like. Basically, what's happened here is there is a secret group that's been looking into this for all these years, and now we have scientists, some of them, finally getting on board, and some even government agencies like NASA finally getting on board to do their own investigation into this. When really, they shouldn't even have to do this. Isn't this a waste of time and effort, really, in a way? I mean, I guess it's the only way to go over the Pentagon's head, to go over Majestic 12's head, I guess, right? You have to collect the data yourself, but why make all these organizations waste their time when you already have the information? That doesn't make any sense, really. But again, I know we talked about this before. The military most certainly has reasons for keeping this secret, as secret as possible, because, again, the panic that it would cause once it comes out. I mean, people are going to realize then. They're going to know. They're going to, abductions, nothing you could do about it. Cattle mutilations, nothing you could do about it. People disappearing, nothing you can do about it. That's what's going to happen. I think that's why, and aliens from how many different planets, and you have no idea what's going on. Think about the questions, think about the people out there who are, live their lives already in complete absolute fear, right? I mean, there's a lot of people out there running around complete absolute fear. They're basically, their houses are basically arsenals, mini arsenals. Could you imagine how they're going to react? And I think that's probably why, this is some effort. I guess what we're seeing here is like a slow effort to try to get people slowly used to the idea. So we're brought into it slowly, in baby steps. But again, this is the way the scientific community presents this stuff. It's like we're playing this phony. It's like a fake phony game or something. It's like, I know they're here. I saw one of the things, right? I mean, how many people? There's other people out there that saw one of these things. I had a close encounter of the first kind. I saw it was right there in front of my face. 2.5 stories off the ground. 10, 20, 30 feet in front of me. It was right there. Big as a house. No sound. So I know for a fact. I mean, and there's a lot of people who know for a fact. A lot of people who get abducted saw some of these beings themselves with their own 2 eyeballs. We're forced into, getting forced into, into being treated like specimens in a lab. I mean, so there's people out there who know, and they sit back. I would imagine that everybody who knows, right? Everybody who's experienced these things, who's seen them close up, right? It's one thing where you see people filming things, way up in the sky. You can't tell, really. I mean, you really can't really prove anything with that. But when one of these things shows up and it's right in front of your face, that changes everything. And then on top of that, when you have people who actually saw these things with their own eyeballs, saw the pilots of these craft with their own eyeballs and had to deal with them, that's a whole nother ball of wax. And it's just like, what are we doing here? I mean, this is, we're dancing around the reality. It's almost like, in the TV show Game of Thrones, it was, on HBO that went on for a few years there. It was really enjoyable. That's what this is like in a way, isn't it? You have all these, we're all worried about our own little things. You have politicians battling for power and all. And meanwhile, right, and like in Game of Thrones, that's basically what you had, people vying for a throne in some mystical world. And meanwhile, there was these zombies massing all around them. And, a lot of them were ignoring that problem until it was almost too late. That's what's happening here with the UFO situation. It's like, it's basically we have all these things that we're all worried about, what this politician is doing, what this celebrity is doing, what that celebrity. We're all like involved in our own little issues, our own little problems. Like we're worried about, just getting through life and making money and, keeping your house, and keeping a roof over your head. And meanwhile, there's something going on all around us that we're just not paying attention enough to. And basically, there's people letting us down. I mean, I would say that this secret group, whatever it's called today, has let us down and continues to let us down playing these games. We should know a lot more about this. The more heads, the better, right? The more people to look into this, to have access to the real data, to the crash ships, to the bodies, to all of this, right? To the what has been the information and data that has been amassed secretly by the government. Right. We need to have that needs to be available to everyone, because then we could try to figure out what's going on here and maybe how to prevent some of these things that these beings are apparently doing from doing them. Right. Because, you're not going to figure it out in some little vacuum with just a certain group, a small group. You need everyone involved. Everybody needs to be involved. Right. The more brains, the better.